The moment a government prints money, it feels like magic. No taxes raised, no votes taken, no hard choices explained. Just ink. Or more accurately today, just numbers typed into a system. And somehow, everyone is supposed to be richer. But here's the uncomfortable truth. When a country prints money, someone gets paid first. Someone gets paid last. And by the time most people feel it, the damage is already done. So who actually gets paid? Not in theory, not in textbooks, in the real world. Let's start inside a room you're never invited into. It's quiet, boring even, a central bank meeting. No shouting, no drama, just a few people deciding that the economy needs support. That's the word they always use, support. What they really mean is this: more money is about to be created. Not printed in trucks, not dropped from helicopters. It appears on balance sheets, a keystroke, a digital credit. And the first stop for this brand new money is not your wallet. It never has been. Right now, this matters more than ever because governments everywhere are buried in debt. Growth is fragile. Inflation keeps pretending it's gone and then comes back louder. Printing money has quietly become the default response to every crisis. Pandemic, banking panic, war, recession fears, different excuses, same tool. So let's slow this down and follow the money step by step, because money doesn't enter the economy evenly. It never spreads like water. It moves like a wave. And the people closest to the wave surf it. Everyone else gets soaked. When a country prints money, the central bank doesn't give it to citizens. It buys assets, usually government bonds, sometimes mortgages, sometimes corporate debt. This is called quantitative easing, but that name hides what's really happening. The government issues debt. The central bank buys it with newly created money. The government gets cash. The bond goes onto the central bank's balance sheet. And just like that, the system has more money than it did yesterday. So who gets paid first? The government, immediately. It can now spend without raising taxes or borrowing from the public. That's the first recipient. But the government doesn't stuff that money under a mattress. It spends. Contracts, defense, infrastructure, subsidies, bailouts. And this is where the second group gets paid. Large institutions, big banks, major corporations, defense contractors, construction firms, financial intermediaries. These are the entities directly plugged into government spending and financial markets. They receive the money before prices adjust, before inflation shows up on receipts, before wages react, before anyone talks about the cost of living. At this stage, the money is still powerful. It buys more. This advantage has a name, though most people have never heard it: the Cantillon Effect. It's the idea that the first receivers of new money benefit the most because prices haven't risen yet. They're shopping in yesterday's economy with tomorrow's money. Now watch what happens next. Banks don't just sit on this cash, they lend it to businesses, to investors, to asset buyers. This is where asset prices start moving. Stocks rise, real estate inflates, crypto pumps. Anything scarce and desirable starts looking expensive. Not because society suddenly became more productive, but because more money is chasing the same stuff. And the people who already own assets feel richer. Their net worth goes up on paper. Their borrowing power increases. Their leverage expands. This is the third group that gets paid: asset holders. They didn't do anything new. They were just early. Now pause for a second and look around. Who is missing from this picture? Wage earners, savers, people living paycheck to paycheck. They're still at work, still earning the same income, still using old money. And now prices start to move. Rent creeps up. Food costs more. Insurance jumps. Utilities follow. But wages? Wages move last, always. By the time a raise arrives, inflation has already eaten the difference. This is where the quiet transfer happens. No announcement, no headline. The purchasing power of savings erodes. Fixed incomes shrink in real terms. Cash becomes a melting ice cube. And the people who got paid last effectively paid for the entire process. This is the uncomfortable math. Printing money doesn't create wealth, it redistributes it. From late receivers to early receivers, from savers to borrowers, from labor to capital. And the irony is brutal. The policy is often justified as helping the economy or protecting the average person. But the average person is always last in line. Let's make this concrete. After the 2008 financial crisis, central banks printed trillions. Stock markets soared. Housing prices exploded. Inequality widened. After 2020, it happened again, but faster. Stimulus checks made headlines, but they were tiny compared to what flowed into financial markets. A few $1,000s for households, trillions for asset support. By 2022, inflation hit its highest levels in decades, and suddenly the narrative flipped. Now inflation was the enemy. Now interest rates had to rise. Now pain was unavoidable. But notice something strange. The people who benefited most from money printing had already locked in their gains. Assets inflated first, prices raised later. The bill arrived after the party ended. This is where the system becomes almost darkly funny. When things go well, gains are private. When inflation hits, pain is socialized. Everyone pays. And when inflation gets too uncomfortable, central banks raise interest rates, which does what? It protects the currency. It protects lenders. It protects the financial system. But it squeezes borrowers, workers, and governments themselves. So the same system that printed money to delay pain now creates a different kind of pain to clean it up. There's no villain twirling a mustache here, just incentives. Governments like money printing because it feels painless at first. Central banks like it because it stabilizes markets. Markets like it because asset prices rise. No one likes the ending, and the ending always arrives quietly. Higher living costs, lower real wages, more dependence on debt, less trust in money itself. Now zoom out. What happens when this cycle repeats over and over? Debt grows faster than the economy. Printing becomes normal. Inflation becomes politically dangerous. Eventually, money stops feeling like a store of value and starts feeling like a temporary coupon. That's when people change behavior. They stop saving, they speculate, they chase assets not because they want them, but because cash feels unsafe. And that's when a financial system starts eating itself. Here's the part no one likes to say out loud. Money printing doesn't fail suddenly. It works until it doesn't. And by the time it stops working, the people who understood the system were already positioned. So who actually gets paid when a country prints money? The government gets funded, financial institutions get liquidity, asset holders get richer. Everyone else pays through inflation, delayed wages, and eroded savings. Not instantly, not obviously, but inevitably. This isn't a conspiracy, it's plumbing. And once you see the pipes, you can't unsee them. The real question isn't whether countries will keep printing money. They will. The real question is this. If money is created without your consent, and its cost shows up slowly in your life, how long before people stop pretending it's free?